is that everyone was like, oh, you have no reason to be unhappy. You know, you have a wonderful life, you have a husband, you have beautiful kids, you know, you live a nice life. And that makes you feel even worse. You know, like I have absolutely no reason to feel terrible, but why am I unhappy? And it was a journey, you know, it was a journey seeing people. And I think it was a combination of therapy, some medication, and also finding a calling that fulfilled me and made me very happy and gave me a sense of purpose outside of my family.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by the one and only Crazy Ant Media. And today is going to be very special because after going through and looking at our different episode topics, I noticed we had never discussed depression individually as a specific topic. So we're very excited today because we have Felicia Madison, comedian, coming on the show today to talk about depression, her experience with it. And then, of course, we're going to be talking all about her career and some amazing things she's got going on. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me. What a great idea to have a comedian talk about depression. How original.
I was
You know,
just gonna say that. It's like, wow, that was a great intro. It's like, hey, comedian, depression, it makes total sense. So
exactly. But I mean, for this podcast, we like to have it be very story time, right? We like to open up a little bit of ourselves to the audience and to our guests to just, get to know each other a little bit more and to be able to talk about certain things that I feel like not a lot of people like to talk about. And I know you are very open about your journey with mental health. So that's awesome. And we appreciate you doing that because that helps the next person. We always say we
right.
want this podcast to help one person. If it does that, then we've done our job. That's all that matters. But specifically for me, I am a very anxious individual and I do battle with depression as well. And it's kind of like a ladder, right? I start at the very beginning with anxiety, which leads into me starting to doubt myself. And then that leads into depression. And it seems like depression is the longest step, I guess, before I get to suicidal thoughts. So I know some people's trajectory is a little bit different, and but I just, to be able to talk about, what makes me anxious, what leads to me getting depressed, and then what gets me to the worst case scenario is all of these little things that I feel like can be prevented through conversation or just through, sources to calm me down. So, I mean, do you ever feel like you kind of had that same trajectory or, what's your process with it?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a lot to unravel there. But yeah, it is a process. I mean, I work very closely with an organization that's called Same Here Global, and they deal a lot with these kind of issues. And kind of what you're saying is it's good to talk it out and have people to talk to. And the whole premise behind what they do is kind of take away the stigma of like, mental, that we're not well. We're all a little crazy. It's not, we have depression and everyone else is normal. It's everyone has everything. And it's really important that you realize that and that you have a group of people to talk about it and also have outlets and things to do that make you feel better.
Mm,
Like the person that founded it found that, exercise and meditation, along with therapy and everything else, was sort of what helped. A lot of people who are depressed always seem to dig deeper into working really hard. They feel like that will make them feel better. And that's a crutch that never works. You actually need the time to step back and replenish yourself and find what is important in your life other than work and material things. So,
mm.
um, yeah, I think, when you get to that place where things are getting really bad, you need to take a step back and replenish yourself and realize that you're not alone. You're not the only one going through this. And Medication helps too.
So to talk about a little bit, because like I said, we joked about it at the top of the show, but it really not so much joking about the fact that you are a comedian. And so often that we hear comedians, Robin Williams, for example, I mean, suffer. They're the ones suffering the most that you would never know that they are. And so often I think that that is the case, where the people who seem the happiest, it's a facade, it's a mask, because they're really dealing with stuff and they're putting on that show to try to portray something that they know is not really happening inside. And I'm guilty of that. I do that. I've had a really bad time with death in my family. A lot of people in my family have died, including my little brother, my father, a bunch of close relatives. It's something that clearly sparked my problems with depression, but I am that guy. I'm the guy that's the happiest one in the room. I'm always the clown. I'm always making the jokes, and everybody thinks I'm happy all the time, when in reality, I'm not happy all the time. I do have that big smile, and I am the mouth because I talk a lot and I engage a lot and everything, but there are many times I find myself isolated at night, alone, crying, dealing with what I'm not putting out in the public. And talk about your step there a little bit. Did it take you a while to kind of realize what was actually going on? Did someone come to you and say, "Hey, is this, or are you okay this?" And were you in denial at first before you were? And were you clinically diagnosed with depression? Because I find so
Yeah,
often,
I mean, I was unhappy for a really long time, and I didn't really realize that it was something, clinical or biological. I just knew that something wasn't right, and the problem that I had, kind of like what you have, is that everyone was like, "Oh, you have no reason to be unhappy. You
right?
have a wonderful life, you have a husband, you have beautiful kids, you live a nice life." And that makes you feel even worse,
Mm.
like I have absolutely no reason to feel terrible, but why am I unhappy? And it was a journey, it was a journey, seeing people. And I think it was a combination of therapy, some medication, and also finding a calling that fulfilled me and made me very happy and gave me a sense of purpose outside of my family.
Oh, I love that too. And I love how you brought up medication on a couple of different points in our 7 minute conversation because, I feel like it's not talked about enough and there is kind of a negative stigma behind it. And because it is a journey, right? It's like everything else in life. You have to figure out what works best for you with as long as, the dosage is working properly. So what was your journey with the medication? Was it a process to try to find the right dosage, or did you find something quick and then are okay, or how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, there's a big stigma, and I grew up in a generation where, this wasn't really spoken about. It wasn't
Right?
talked about. My parents didn't know from psychiatry and medication, and they came from a really tough life, and they were like they didn't have time to be upset and deal with all this stuff, and
Mm,
so it wasn't really talked about in my family. And then when I got married, it wasn't really something also that was talked about or thought like was a normal thing to do. And then it got to the point where I was like, I need to do something about this.
hmm.
And I had a very, good reaction. I'm on Wellbutrin. I haven't had an issue with it. I tried getting off it for a while and um, decided that it was actually, we had an event for a comedian that had, we don't really say commit suicide, but there's an expression that they use that just, not suicide, I can't think of it right now. But we had an event, and one of the comedians who speaks a lot about mental health, his name's Gary Goldman, was talking at the end of it and said, well, what's worse than the side effects of medication? Suicide.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
it's like, or, so I have dry mouth, but, I'm happy and I'm alive. And he like inspired me to go back on the medication. Acts of despair, they call it.
There you
Because,
go.
sometimes, it's not necessarily like he meant to take his life, but it was that he got to such a point where he had to rely on things and do things that put him in that risky situation. So you need to get people before they get to that point of despair, before they do something that, is not reversible.
And that's an excellent point too, and I want to talk a little bit about that too, the support system, because you said you came from a generation where the family just wasn't really like that, right? Wasn't for you, and then you married, and the husband, we didn't talk about it a lot, kind of a thing. How is the family with you? Are they supportive now with your journey and knowing that this is what you have, this is what you're dealing with, this is how you're coping with it? How has that support been? And do you have an outside support system? Because like you said, I think it's so critically important for people to recognize and be able to get to people before they get to those moments of despair. Let's make sure we never get to that point. Do you have that support system in place around you to help you deal with days that you're not having such a great time?
I have a really supportive husband who's been there for me and very understanding. And my kids, although I don't really talk about it that openly with them, I'm very open with them about their mental health and their seeking help and seeking medication. There's nothing wrong with it if that's something that they seem fit. I'm a big proponent of it, unlike, my parents where it was like a taboo topic. Um, but it's been a journey, and I'm lucky to have the support of a really amazing husband who wants nothing other than for me to be happy. So
That's good. That's really good because yeah, I know that, it is a roller coaster and you have to figure out what works best for you and what you're comfortable with. And do you feel like ever at one point you would be open to talking to your children about your mental health journey? Because I know it's kind of a fine line, I feel like, because my parents were so open with me about their stuff to where I'm like, okay, a little trauma, a little bit of that rolls on to me, which is,
yeah.
can be a little bit of a mess. But I mean, would you ever be open to having that conversation with them further down the line to be like, this is what I was going through?
Yeah, no, I speak to them about it, and they've, when more in the, when they're having a hard time, I tell them that there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with it. Like I had issues, I take medication, and I haven't really gone into like deep details about it, but
Hmm.
they know I'm very much an advocate. I mean, I have friends that are like see a psychiatrist for like decades, and they're like the happiest people I know. Um, and that's what I tell my kids. There's nothing wrong with it. It's that's that crutch or that person that's there just to keep you level and normal. Not we don't want to use the word not normal, but like on a level playing field, that someone that you can talk to and help you work through things and give you
Absolutely.
the things to help you get through
Absolutely.
certain things.
Absolutely. So I have to ask because mid 50s, married, 3 kids, you decide, wait a minute, I'm gonna make this leap into a totally different direction, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, you found a purpose that brought you happiness, that made you happy to get outside of your comfort zone for whatever reason that was. Was there some resistance at first because of where people like, you're just depressed. Maybe this is crazy. Maybe this isn't what you should be doing right now. Are you sure this is the kind of thing? Or was it an immediate, hey, go for it kind of a, I have to imagine that because of what you've just shared and the things that you've kind of gone through in the journey that you've been on, initially maybe it was like, really? Or are you really sure this is where you're going and what you want to do? Because it was a jump, right?
Yeah, it was a journey. I mean, I definitely all throughout my life was searching for something. And I always used to joke like on my tombstone it was going to say she tried because I tried everything. I was always searching for something. I was always thinking that and knew that something was missing and that life could be and should be better. So I tried stand up with a friend and I just loved it. It was just
Hmm.
like instantaneous. From the first minute, um, I just couldn't stop. It's almost like a drug.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes even now, like when I start to get a little down, I think about it, and it's like, you know what, I haven't performed in a while. I haven't been on stage in a while. And I'll go on stage, and then you get back into your routine and you start, feeling better about yourself. But I mean, it was definitely a journey to get there. And I had a father that found a passion very late in life by accident. So he was sort of an inspiration to me, and I am an inspiration to my children in the same way that I teach them. You have to keep trying. You have to keep looking. You have to, if you don't, if you're sitting home, if you're not, going out and trying things, you might miss out on something that was meant to be you. My father went with my mother. She was going through a midlife crisis, so she decided to take an art class, and she dragged him along, and the teacher gave him a piece of clay, and he sat down with it, and he proceeded to make a perfect, replica of my mom. And
Wow.
everyone
Wow.
in the class, the teacher were like awed, and it led to a lifelong passion of sculpting for him. And had she not dragged him, he would have gone through his entire life without knowing he had this talent and passion. And if I hadn't taken that class, it would have been the same for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
love that too because we are also filmmakers. So we're in the entertainment industry alongside you, and we know that with that comes a lot of rejection or selection, as we like to say, a lot of bombing in your case, just trying to figure out how to work the joke out. But I mean, there's something about it to where like I don't know. I guess when it's really your passion and when you find that passion, like you're willing to go through the hits. You're willing to fall down and get back up and then not stay in that place. But it's so awesome that you are able to experience this and you are able to find happiness in something that you truly love, especially later on in life, because I know Dustin has talked about openly before that, we both came from broadcast journalism, but him specifically, when he was younger, he was going to have a child. And then so he gave up the filmmaking dream for a little bit and then just went into news. But then now, I forget how old you were, like 50, 47 or something like that when we
46,
started the
47. Yeah.
company to where we were able to like get back on the feet and be able to start creating movies, start creating content to where, we are able to scratch that itch that our creative personalities know. So that's really awesome because the podcast is to let people know it's never too late. You can always start. Start today, start tomorrow. You just have to do it. That's the biggest thing. The hardest step is the first. I love
Yeah.
that for you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's been frustrating a little. I wish I had found it
Yeah,
earlier, but,
right.
better late than never.
That's right. Do
Exactly.
you find that being on stage, because you said that like whenever you start to get a little down, you're like, oh, I haven't been on stage in a while. Let me get back out there and kind of do. Do you find it to be like very therapeutic, almost like a therapy session in itself when you're out on stage and you're able to just have that feedback and that reaction and maybe even work through some dark stuff? Do you use a lot of dark stuff in your comedy and try to like deal with it there and go, you know what, let me tell you what happened today? And it really is something that might have triggered the depression, but now you're able to have that outlet to talk about it in a way that's entertaining and maybe helping other people while you're doing it. Do you find yourself doing that a lot?
I talk about depression. I talk about life. I mean, someone described my comedy as sardonic, which I loved that word. It's like a little bit more depressed than sarcastic, I think. And I have that sort of, and that was like a hard thing in terms of comedy because I wasn't the type of person that got on stage with like all this energy and happiness and
Hmm.
woohoo. That just wasn't me. I'm more of like a calm, sardonic person.
Yes.
And so it took me a while to find that right mix, and I do. I talk a lot about it, and I'm still delving a little deeper into it. Um, and it's, when you get on stage, like I said, it's kind of like a drug. It's, I guess if it were sports, it'd be like hitting a home run. It
Right.
just gives you that high, and you come off just feeling like great.
Oh.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm curious too, because past couple years, I've been getting really big into the comedy scene. Tom Segura is one of my favorites, and Taylor Tomlinson as well.
Oh, I
So
love
who?
Taylor. She's my
She's
favorite.
amazing. She's amazing. So I'm wondering who was your influences, you know?
Of course, like Joan Rivers was
Hmm.
someone that I really look up to. I love Whitney Cummings. I love Taylor Tomlinson.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Ricky Gervais is hysterical.
Right.
And, I have a lot of people that I work with here at the club, like Brian Scott McFadden and Eddie Brill, and, other younger comedians that I work with that are people that really inspire me. Um,
That's
That's
beautiful though, because I mean, I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, like with obviously Two Bears One Cave and all the comedy space that's basically all wrapped into one, like Theo Von and things like that. But it seems like, with that specific niche and that specific skill set, it's better when you have a group of people who you're able to bounce ideas off with, to be able to work things out and to give you honest critiques, because I feel like that's the biggest thing in comedy as well, because maybe they see something in the audience that you don't necessarily see from stage. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, well, it's definitely great when you do something with people. That was something that took me a while to develop,
Hmm.
especially because I was older than most of the people that I was in the world with, so it wasn't like I was hanging out late at night with them having drinks
Right.
after. I had a family and whatever. So it took me a while. I started. It actually happened over the pandemic when I started doing Zoom shows, and I met some really
Mm.
great comedians. And from that, we started a writing session when we got into the club, and it's morphed into a writing session, into a new joke night that we do at the club now, which is like one of our most popular weekly shows. And it was really great to work with other people and bounce ideas off of each other. And it was something that I definitely recommend to younger comics, and also was the impetus behind me starting a comedy school. Because schools, because this industry, unlike many others, you're alone a lot. It isn't,
yeah.
you don't have a team that you work with. So I really like helping comedians, and I really wanted to come up with an environment where people felt comfortable, kind of felt like it was their home. I used to have the nickname, I still do. They used to call me Momager. I guess people just seem to like trust me and think of me as like this motherly figure. So it's been fun. So it definitely brings a very lonely um, profession and makes it a little bit more family oriented.
I think that that's absolutely spectacular because you have the school and you're also the talent director, right, at Westside Comedy Club. So, and you've actually launched a few careers. I love the fact that you decide that you're going to make this life changing kind of move in mid 50s. You've got a family, you've got a set life, you're going to be boom. And even though you got started a little late, you found the passion late, you're into it, you're also now inspiring others and letting others chase the dream and go after the dream. I love that so much because it's inspiring to see somebody do that early. But for somebody who just midlife goes, hey, boom, I'm going to go here, and then be able to also allow other people to go there and to do that's an amazing thing. I think anybody that can inspire others and help others get to where they're trying to go in the process of themselves getting to where they want to go is a beautiful thing. I think that's how we all get where we want to go. And the fact that you're doing that in so many different ways is amazing. So thank you for that because you speak openly about your mental health. You speak openly about your journey. You say, "Hey, I'm not so sure. I got up on stage and sometimes I'm not this and I'm not that, but I'm going to what? You want to do comedy? Let me help you. let me come in the midst of it all, it's like you're going to be let me help you go after yours too." And the reason I say that is because you don't know if that one act of kindness, you're taking the time to say, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help get you started. I'm going to do whatever I can do. That might be the one turning point that spares them going down the dark side or the journey that they may have gone because of you, because of somebody like you that says, hey, I'm going to help you out and I'm going to get you going. And sometimes I think it's a lot of, like, to turn it back to what you said about getting to the people before the acts of despair, sometimes I think it's just being noticed and somebody saying, I see you and I see what you're trying to do and I'm going to help you. And that is the biggest difference that you can make in somebody's life. So you are entertaining, you are bringing joy to people, you are changing lives, you are enabling them to do what they want to do. All of that is a beautiful thing. And you're a mom. I really don't know how you're balancing it all.
Now I know who to call when I get depressed. There
we
go.
Well, that's part of it, right? Positive reinforcement. I mean, like Logan and I said, we're familiar with being depressed, and I wish somebody sometime would say to me, hey, guess what? You're okay. You're this. You're this. You're this. So, and we should say, yeah, you're getting ready to do your first big show on YouTube, right? Like that's how exciting is that? Talk about how that came about.
It's very exciting. I never, this whole journey has been, almost like I don't really believe like in like a overall, fate or whatever, but this all seemed to like just really fall into place really nicely. It was almost like it was meant to be. And, I was kind of a little frustrated, being older and feeling like there wasn't really that much of a future. I got started late and I'd been doing this for a really long time. And I really kind of just wanted to get all my material. I've been thinking about it for a really long time in one place just to have it. And it was kind of like almost like a Hail Mary. I'm going to like put it all together, put it out there. And if nothing happens, I'm going to, concentrate more on the school and the business side and running the club and really just like delve into that. So I'm very goal oriented. It's probably related to like some sort of issue that I have. When I set a goal, I accomplish it. I set the date and I work tirelessly and I get it done. So I picked the date to do my special. I worked nonstop for 3 months. And even like one of the guys I was working with kept saying, you don't have to do it on this date. If you don't feel ready. I'm like, no, I'm doing it on this date. And, it came and it went really well. And a lot of people were very complimentary. And they were all like, wow, that was great. You could do something with this. And then I was sort of like, oh wow, whatever. And then it took a really long time to get it edited, and like it sort of like felt like it was like a big fumble, not a Hail Mary. And so I started working on the school and started really concentrating on the business side when people started getting interested in the special, and that sort of started picking up. So it was a little bit of like when you stop thinking about something, it happens.
Always.
But so I got it finished and it's coming out tomorrow. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Like that's just an amazing thing. And I mean, YouTube really is the place for stand-up comedy right now, especially independents, because like, I mean, Matt Rife before he went to Netflix, Ryan Sickler, Shane Gillis, like all of these people are putting their stuff on there because you're your own distributor. You're your own person. Like you're running the show, and I think that's the best way to do it. So congratulations to you, and I'm super excited about your success because I know it's coming. I can just tell. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna flip on and I'm gonna go watch it. I'm like, everybody, sit down. It is time. Okay, it is time. But man, oh man, I can't thank you enough for this conversation because it does show everyone out there that it doesn't matter how old you are, what you've gone through, what your past is, what you think you may know about your future. Like, if you want to get something done, you can do it. And like you said, don't link up. They're kind of like building blocks. Sometimes they don't match, but then when they do match, they all fall in line and you're all ready to go. But I just can't thank you enough for this conversation because I feel like it is very encouraging. It's very encouraging for all the people out there and all the listeners. So thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking about your process and what you have coming up and all the success in the world. I'm super excited for you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's very inspiring. And by the way, you're not old. I'm right there with you in the 50s. And come on, we're not old. We're just getting started. All right. It's just we are just getting started. That's all I'm telling you. But seriously though, I think the biggest thing coming out of this whole thing is that no matter what you're going through in life, no matter where you've been or what you might still be going through, you can still get done what you want to get done and still live a productive and happy life, even if you got some stuff going on. And you are a pure example of that and doing it the right way. And that's going to help so many people that listen to this interview realize I'm going through some stuff. Maybe I'm in therapy, maybe I'm on some medication, but I can still be a productive, happy person and live the life I want to live. And you are a testament to that. So like Logan said,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
And one of the things that really helped me a lot was when someone said to me, just keep your head straight. Don't look left, don't look right. Keep your eye on the prize. Because I think, it's kind of like the yoga mantra, keep your eyes on your own mat. Because I think if you start looking at other people and what other people are accomplishing and where you are in life compared to other people and where you are in your career, that's what really gets you down.
Yeah.
So if you just stay in your own lane and just worry about you and not really concentrate on others, I think that really, really helped me in terms of being happy and successful.
Solid advice. Solid advice.
Yes. Well, like we said, all the success in the world. It's gonna be on your YouTube channel?
YouTube, yep. Felicia Madison. I should know if it's comedy or comedian. I think it's comedian. This whole that was like a whole social media learning all this was like I was hesitant to put it on YouTube because I'm like I only have 50 subscribers and I really don't want to learn another platform.
Right.
But I'm doing
Understandable.
it.
You're doing it. There you go.
Same boat. We're in the same boat. We didn't take YouTube seriously for the longest time, but now that we have, we've seen the numbers increase immensely and found a whole new audience. So positive vibes for that. Positive vibes for new social media. We'll be sure to link it in this episode description so everybody who listens to this can find your special. And like we said, nothing but success and happiness is coming your way. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's Felicia Madison comedian. I just looked it up.
There you
There
go.
we go.
I can multitask.
Yes.
You got it. You're freaking amazing. You're amazing. Well, listen, thank you again so much. Take care, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, I mean, talk about just a interesting experience in life, right? Because, I mean, we know we're big comedy fans, stand-up comedy, and like depression and comedy, they go hand in hand. And I mean, that's a great therapeutic way to go through life is by, having the dark sense of humor a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's a way to alleviate that pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole time she was talking, I kept thinking, I was racking my brain about who does this, Stephen Wright. He was a very monotone, just not very over the top, didn't have a lot of energy comedian that talked about a lot of dark stuff in his life. And he was hugely successful. And says all the time that he credited as therapy, on-stage therapy. And so, I think it's amazing that she was able to find it late in life and that she's helping others find it earlier. I think that's a great thing. So, and we're all about helping people chase the dream and going after what they want. So it's always nice to talk to people who think like that.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And it's an amazing thing too, because, you are, even if you have your depression bouts, you are able to get through them. I mean, those feelings don't last forever. I know it's so hard while you're going through it because, you feel like this is it. This is what I see my future with, depression, feeling down about yourself, your situation, your family, anything like that. But, everybody does come out of it. We're proven spectacles of that, Dustin and I and Felicia. We are able to, become the people who we are meant to be. Those are just phases of a particular day or a particular week. They're not who you are. You should not let that define who you are. Even your actions or the things you say while you're in a depressional space. It's very important to just remind yourself that, everything's okay.